Jeff, I think we're live.
Hello, Scotty. We're live.
We're live. Let's do it live.
Let's do it live. How are you doing this fine day?
I'd love to tell you, but I'm going to make sure that I'm not getting a terrible echo and just go mute ourselves here. If you can introduce the topic we're going to discuss today, that'd be much appreciated.
I'd be happy to. So, hello to the thousands of people who have tuned in to the LinkedIn Live between Scotty and I. Today, we will have another thrilling debate, and today's debate topic is AI in recruiting. And I will be arguing that AI will replace recruiters, human recruiters, mostly, if not completely. And Scotty will be arguing against that AI will not replace human recruiters or recruiting, and that's not possible. So we have a lot to talk about. I think both of us can see the other side of the argument, but I prepped for this conversation and kind of writing down the recruiting process and made notes. Can AI replace this or that? And I think I have a strong argument in the affirmative. Did I do a good job of laying out the topic there, Scotty?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I heard most of it.
Heard most of it. Do you want me to go ahead and start my argument and then you can jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that to your point, that will be probably the best approach here is to take it just step by step. And I can tell you all the reasons why you're wrong today.
That sounds great. Today's LinkedIn Live is brought to you by Monster, the White Monster. I know a lot of people, the thousands of people who are watching this are thinking, "Oh my God, he's always drinking an energy drink." Not always, but a lot of time.
That white monster could be polarizing. I have no idea. I don't drink energy drinks at all, but
Oh, not surprising at all that your hippie ways,
they're gonna
you would never drink an energy drink. It's just not natural, is it? Is that your
we'll debate that next time.
our next debate topic is energy drinks, yes or no? Okay, so on this topic, so like I mentioned before, to prepare for this, I wrote down kind of the different phases in the recruiting process and then made a note, will AI replace humans in this aspect of the process? And surprisingly, I have yes to almost every single one. So let me go ahead and break it down for you. So I'd have it as open a position, write the job description, post the position, screen, source, and yes, I have screen and source different, interview, offer, and then start. So starting with open, and that's getting finance approval, opening the position in your applicant tracking system and your systems. Yes, I think that's pretty straightforward. I think there should be an AI aspect to that where you can just talk to your AI and say, hey, I need you to open this position. Here's a hiring manager, here's the title, and I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. Writing the job description, I think this is pretty straightforward and simple. We already do this. In fact, this is what I personally use Chat GPT for more than anything is writing a job description. Because before that, what I typically did was go out there like many people. I would research. I'd say, okay, I need to write a job description for one of my hiring managers. We're looking for a sales leader. Let me go and look at a couple of different job descriptions out on the market that look good. I'll borrow from this, borrow from that, and put my own together with flavor and our stuff, and it looks great. So ChatGPT is great for that. AI will definitely be writing job descriptions for us. Posting, I think that's pretty straightforward. AI, you can just tell it, hey, here's where I'd like the job posted. Please make sure here are the details. Yes, I think it will there. Screening.
Now, hold on, just real quick, because if you go through this whole thing, first of all, I'm probably going to forget the every step you have laid out here, only because there are a handful of steps that I think you may have missed where I think it's absolutely critical critically important to have a human involved in the process.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, let me address what you've already discussed about how AI is going to take over, and then we can take it. You're going to pick it back up at screening. Is that fair?
That's fair. Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. So you started with open the job. You mentioned in passing finance approval, and then write a job description and post. Right now, to your point, there are some tasks that could potentially be automated. Right, and yeah, I mean, I think that's fine, right? We can automate how the job posting works because that's just going to help us humans do more high value activities. I'm not going to try to argue that we need to be involved in that, but you when you're going to open a job, you have to get approval. You have to start with what's the business need. And here's a critically important thing that people miss that AI is not at all going to be. I don't think there's any like maybe I don't have enough imagination, but I don't see a future where AI is going to be able to get all of the stakeholders together and understand what they're looking for a given role and ask questions and challenge and push and dig into different things and understand that it's not just the hiring manager, but several different people, depending on what the position is in the organization that have a vested interest in what this person does. So that's got to be a human, right? It's only a human that can bring people together and do the influencing and ask the questions, et cetera.
So you think only a human can identify, okay, do we have finance approval? Why does the need exist? What is the purpose of this position? Is it a backfill? Is it a newly created position? Only a human can bring those people together to determine that.
We may be getting into the weeds a little bit, but you're getting me onto a hobby horse of mine. So I'm gonna roll with it. Only a human could have gone through a hiring process, gotten almost to the end, like I'm ready to, as a hiring manager, I'm ready to make an offer, and then a VP who is very ancillary to the role, but is gonna at some point weigh in on it or work with this individual, say, wait, hold on. I didn't get to meet with them and I don't approve this. And actually, I needed him to do XYZ, and this person doesn't have that experience. How many times as recruiters, third party recruiters, have we been told at the end of the process when it's like, oh, it's a done deal? Oh, just kidding. So and so didn't have a say on it. Now, to be fair, this is happening today, right, with humans involved. But from experience, we now know like how important is it to really identify who those stakeholders are and bring them into the process early. I would argue before you ever even think to post a job, before you even build a job description, because you want to understand what they need out of this individual. So that is the part that AI will not take over.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you in that aspect, but here's what I would say is I think all this is dependent upon how the stakeholders embrace and engage with AI, because we know that some are going to be resistant, but I think people are going to be forced to use this because it's going to be such a big cost savings for so many organizations. Much like when you call customer service and you don't want to speak to the robot, you don't want to speak to the fake person, you're forced to. And in many instances, it's actually really productive that you do. I'm resistant to it at times, but there are a lot of times where I'm like, you know what, it makes sense for me to just talk to a robot, move through this, and get it done right away. But I think a lot of these people, so let's use as an example, okay, the recruiter goes to the stakeholders and says, okay, do we have finance approval? What's the need for this? What's the purpose of the role? Is this a backfill, a new position because of growth or whatever? I think AI can replace that. I do. I think if it's used in,
Finance doesn't approve the job. Is AI going to push back and make a justification?
yes, AI will send a weekly reminder until finance approves. Much
Touche.
like much like a human being is just, excuse me,
Uh,
excuse me, person. I've been waiting for a week. Can you please approve this? We're waiting for 2 weeks. Now, maybe AI is not as good at making up or getting creative with the message to the rest of the stakeholders like a recruiter does. But yes, I do think that. Anyway, if you wanted to go back to your process, we can, if that'll keep you on track.
Yeah, because I mentioned it. I'm going down a bit of a rabbit hole there, and I did, and I appreciate you entertaining it, even though I'm not going to convince you. So moving on to the job description. Now, again, we're talking about AI. It's somewhat esoteric when you talk about AI, just, in general, because someday, perhaps, AI will be able to write a job description that I don't then need to edit. So I want to have a caveat here to the fact that, yes, as you know, we as recruiters today, you and I use ChatGPT just like a lot of professionals for a lot of different things, but writing job descriptions is certainly one. However, I'm sure you would agree that you're editing that heavily. I personally will tell you that oftentimes the soaring language that AI uses in a job description, I can't. I'm like, no, this is not. we don't need to. We don't need to talk about this. Oh, I'm trying to think of some of the common words that I've heard AI
I've seen
use to
them. I've
describe.
seen them, and I have the same reaction. I'm like, we've used honed way too many times here, AI. There's too much honing going on here. Yeah, I agree with you.
So again, in fairness to the AI, to our future AI overlords, or Skynet, as one of our team members told us we had to mention today, maybe someday they'll be better, but yeah, some of the language in a job description, I'm sorry, it's like I know my clients are great, but the language is a little bit too flowery, too much, and I think would be a huge turnoff to most humans that read it. They're going to say, "Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool job description, guys. Way to just plug it into a robot and then not look at it again." So that's the only criticism I can make today, or reason why I'm not saying we shouldn't utilize the tool. I'm just saying it should not be the end all be all, and it will definitely not replace the human, at least anytime soon, from what I've seen, in terms of you still have to have someone heavily edit what comes out, the product that comes out the other side. Okay. I mean, I think that posting, again, I'll grant you, I don't even care. I'm not going to sit here and argue that a human needs to post. We can probably come up with a repeatable process that can be automated. And
I think
frankly, Jeff, you and we ought to have figured out a way to get, to write a Python script to do that already. So shame on
exactly.
us as technical recruiters.
The rest of the process is going to be key here. After, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, make the case for me, and I do want to thank the handful of people that are here with us. That I'm sure there's millions watching after the fact. So thanks to you as well.
Second
We
only
are
to Joe Rogan's podcast.
we are debating right now whether or not artificial intelligence will replace recruiters entirely, which Jeff believes they will. It believes that full-heartedly, not just doing an exercise here, and I believe they will not at all. I believe that full-heartedly. Anyway, we're on to screening. Please tell me how you believe that AI will take over screening for recruiters.
Yeah, so I think this is actually where AI will add the most value. I could make the argument in sourcing, but I think screening is the one place where AI will really add the most value. And frankly, I think us as recruiters, one day, a year from now, 5 years from now, will thank AI for doing this for us because there's not a single recruiter out there. Although, if there is, call me, text me, email me, LinkedIn message me, that loves going through hundreds of applicants in your applicant tracking system. So I'm referring to a lot of internal recruiters. My last job at Vendor, I was hired for a cybersecurity role. I had the job posted for 48 hours and I had over 500 applicants. It is
Yikes.
an impossible task as a human recruiter to even get started. It literally is. It's okay, well, where do I start? Do I start with the first applicant and go down? Do I start alphabetically? I mean, what exactly am I doing here? An AI tool, I'm confident. In fact, when I was head of talent acquisition at Vendor, I had a company reach out to me and say they were working on exactly this. They had an AI tool that would go through all of my applicants and give us the top 25 candidates. And I said, if that's true, I'm sold. Let's talk right now. Uh, and then I met with them, and I think they were earlier stage and they were still working on it. So it didn't sound like the product was fully developed yet, but I don't think we're far off from this. I really think when it comes to screening, the initial screen, the resume review, absolutely humans can be replaced there.
Okay. Let me explain why you're wrong first, and
Okay.
then I'll mention maybe the disclaimer should come first. That is an internal or a corporate recruiter challenge. Less so for you and I today in our current
Right.
roles,
Yep.
because we still believe, just for those out there, I know there's a big debate right now on this platform about the open to work banner. I don't know. I can't speak for you, but I support the open to work banner. It obviously makes it very clear for any recruiter to know that you're looking at jobs. So that I support it. We absolutely don't think we have to go out and headhunt somebody who's a passive job seeker only, right? There's plenty of ways to find candidates. Some of the time it's from applicants, right? We don't get as many in the third party world, but we still look at them and sometimes we end up they're the best ones, right? Okay. So having said that, you're gonna miss, man. You're going to miss great people. AI is all it is, large language models. Okay, now I'm really gonna wade into murky territory for the hopefully there's no AI professionals watching right now. Because they're gonna say this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But but all they are is pattern recognition, right? You feed enough data into the model and it just gets really good at guessing what the next word in the pattern should be. Okay. It's going to just be going after keywords. There's no way to see nuance, and there's no way to see something interesting and with no keywords in it and say, you know what, it's worth the conversation. And then find your phenomenal candidate who was too busy working the last 15 years to be writing a great resume that stands out. So you're just going to miss the best candidates, or not always, but often you're going to miss the best candidates if you rely entirely on AI to do your screening. That's my only counter to your argument.
I will say that you may miss some candidates. I don't think you'll necessarily miss the best candidates. That's debatable, but I think you'll have enough candidates to where you will hire someone that does a great job. I think the numbers support that AI as the screening tool, at least at the resume review, I think is a far better use of recruiting time than having recruiters do that. In fact, my strongest argument is for AI to replace humans in that process.
Well,
So
good thing we're having a debate. It's debatable. We're debating. So there you go. Moving right along. Now we're back to
sourcing. Okay,
sourcing.
so because screening different than sourcing, of course. So I think this is one that we may be able to debate the most because I can see your side of the argument, but I think I have a good case here. So maybe you start
Let's
with
hear.
okay. So I think that so I was thinking about sourcing. Let's think about the sourcing that you and I and the rest of our team does every day. And this is really where third-party recruiters, I think, add the most value is internal talent acquisition, internal talent acquisition teams, for the most part, are reviewing applicants, scheduling interviews for applicants, and moving them through the process. And they're just not set up for internal talent acquisition professionals who are watching and listening to this. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of sourcing. What I'm saying is you're not in a position usually where you can source every single day. The reason I know that is because most workloads internally are, even at the height of recruiting, 2021, which is the year of the recruiter, which a lot of people heard me say. I mean, I was able to get our workload down to, I think, 10 positions per recruiter, which is pretty minimal. It still is not enough time for an internal recruiter to source candidates. But regardless, so the sourcing aspect is where third-party recruiters come in and add the most value. And what we're doing is most of the time is we're out on LinkedIn and other sites. We're looking for candidates, reviewing candidates, reaching out to candidates, and then getting them to engage with us to schedule phone calls. Now, the screen or the phone call is different, but the act of sourcing that act of searching, messaging, and scheduling, I think that can be replaced by AI. I think there will be a tool, you plug it in, you say go. And I see a world in a year from now, 5 years from now, where third-party recruiters like us or internal recruiters plug it in, hit go, and the next day we have 5 interviews already scheduled.
Okay. Um, so, okay. Let me make sure we're talking about the same thing here, because what you just said there will be an AI tool where you say, here's what I'm looking for. We plug in the different fields, obviously the job description, but probably a handful of questions, answers to questions that we ask, more than a handful, but anyway, and then AI goes out and scours the internet, makes outbound calls to people that it already knows, asks for referrals, just pounds the payment for you, and then you see what I did there, and then you and I end up with 5 interviews scheduled the next day that they're already prepped, know exactly what it is that we're going to be talking about, et cetera, et cetera. Is that the
Yeah.
argument?
So yes, I do actually. I think, in
Okay,
fact,
just to be clear, just so we're clear.
fact, let's get this on record. What's our timestamp right now?
Um, I can tell you 21 minutes in.
Okay, 21 minutes. Jeff predicted the future. LinkedIn will release this in the next year or two.
Okay.
And it will be a part of LinkedIn Recruiter, because LinkedIn Recruiter right now, frankly, the value of LinkedIn Recruiter has dropped dramatically.
Oh boy.
That's just, I'm sorry, LinkedIn. Sorry, LinkedIn, but that's the truth. Everyone knows it. It's still a valuable tool, so don't cancel me.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Next thing you know, LinkedIn's going to be saying, I'm sorry, but your LinkedIn Live seat is no longer valid.
A LinkedIn recruiter license is still valuable. Now, I will say the value has not dropped dramatically, but it is decreased. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if LinkedIn is working on this. Yes, you plug it in, you tell them, here's what I'm looking for. It actively sources messages. Now, I was thinking messages, so a LinkedIn message, an email, but I could see a phone call happening. They have an AI robot, makes a phone call. Hello, Jeff. This is Larry from LinkedIn. Your background looks like it is a fit for this company and this role. Would you like to interview with Scotty John tomorrow, Thursday, or Friday from 10 to 2, 10 to noon? Yes, I would. Great. What's your email address? It's this. You'll get an invite in the next 5 minutes. Please confirm and plan on your interview with Scotty John. And I'll send you an email with his information. I think that's around the corner.
Well, okay. I don't disagree that that tool is going to exist. I just don't think it's going to work. Again, LinkedIn, please just know that this is all for the sake of argument. We love you and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, LinkedIn's not, we're in an echo chamber on this platform. And you well know we can't give away all our secrets live right now to the handful of people that are watching. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of different places that we source. And again, the best ones we source from are the people that we have established relationships with, that we call and we ask who they know. Who do you know that's the best of what I'm looking for? Fill in the blank, the best DevOps engineer. And they're going to tell you they're not looking, and you're going to say, I totally understand. And I'm just looking to network, and who knows, maybe they'll be looking in a year from now. Maybe they'll know somebody. You get connected to that person connection to the next person. That is the magic. And that's the part that's the most time consuming. It's the biggest value add. I don't see AI doing that. Now, again, perhaps it will, because frankly, these things are doing pretty amazing things, but I don't see that. I see what you're saying, and I grant you that. I just don't think it'll be as effective as it'll be touted as effective. There will be companies that cut their entire recruiting team and say, "Great, we're done. We'll just use this tool," and then they're going to call us right? Or start hiring people back after it's not effective because they get 5 phone screens and the manager's like, way off. It wasn't even close.
What if an AI robot makes that call? Hey, Jeff, are you interested in interviewing with Scotty John for this position? No, I'm not looking right now. Okay, thank you. If we were to offer you $1,000
Click.
referral bonus for anyone you recommend that gets hired, do you have someone you can recommend?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps, dude. I don't know. I again, very, very skeptical in this area in particular. Um, you know, it's perhaps this robot doesn't sound as much like a robot, right? There's some good conversational stuff that I've seen that looks like it's coming. But I'll tell you what, if somebody offered me $1,000, I'm like, this is a scam. Click. Like, I mean,
It's true. Scam part of it I didn't take into consideration. So
yeah,
I think
yeah.
sourcing, I think we both have a valid argument. I, of course, believe it can be replaced. You don't. I think you make a good point, not to be too agreeable. But do you want to move on to interviewing? Because I think that's
Right.
going to be an
Yes.
important
Let's
part.
move on to interviewing.
So I saw a video on Twitter of a demonstration where someone was interviewing with AI, and this AI robot was asking questions in real time and responding in real time. Um, so this was the one area where I wasn't sure. Like I would say a few weeks ago, I'd say absolutely not. A recruiter can't be replaced when it comes to interviewing. I'm starting to think it can. So I think you have more of an argument here, but I'm still gonna hold firm on yes, I think interviewing AI can replace.
Yeah, and I think you know exactly what my argument is going to be that sure, an AI can take the place of an inexperienced or for that matter even not very good recruiter and go down a list of questions and then document the results. Like that's not that difficult. Um, you know, once again, there's lots of things being touted. Yeah, it's there's a lot of very smart people who believe that artificial intelligence will be smarter than us at some point. And so is it within the realm of possibility that an AI is going to ask intelligent follow-up questions, detect pauses or hesitation in someone's answer and ask if you can tell me a little more about that? Just pick up on the nonverbal. I mean, we're talking about phone calls here, but there are cues. You and I both know that there are, and find things out that are critically important because of the follow-up questions, because of reading, the pauses, the hesitation, et cetera. Like I'm super skeptical that that's going to happen. I think it's smart. It knows a lot. It has more access to more information than my memory can access, but it's not going to be able to have the emotional intelligence to notice that, oh, that person just paused before they told me what they were looking for in compensation. I, as a human, should find out a little more about that. I should ask some follow-up questions. So yeah, again, can it do a screen? Can it do an interview? Sure, but can it actually really discern what a human can? Absolutely not. And it won't. And unless I'm blown away, and perhaps I will be, but I don't see it. I don't see it
What
happening.
if what if as a complement to that, it was recorded and it sent to the hiring manager, here's my recommendation, but here's the recording for you to do your own assessment.
And the hiring manager never listens to it. Yes, that's possible.
Which is a
I
valid point.
I once we get through the process, I do think that we ought to take our respective sides kind of hat off, right? That wasn't very clear, but what I mean is let's talk about some of the ways that this can all be integrative at the end of the debate, so to speak. But yeah, as of right now, let's just move on to the next stage in the process. So are we to offer now?
Offer now. So to make the argument for AI, yes, if we have a hiring team that is ready to make a decision and we know in advance our compensation range and benefits and equity and all the details, a hiring manager or a recruiter should be able to, well, in this case, I'll just say hiring manager. A hiring manager should be able to say, hey Siri, send an offer to Scotty John with a base salary of 125 and a 10% bonus with a full benefit package and 5,000 stock options. And let me know when he replies.
Yeah, again, an AI can absolutely do that. That's no problem. But what happens then? I mean, does the hiring manager actually have to have a conversation with a human when the person counters and or says, "Wait a minute, hold on, we haven't talked about this at all throughout this entire process until now. I was, hoping for the higher end of the range, and you made me an offer toward the lower end." Sure, it can send an offer, no problem, but can it then manage all of the follow-up conversations that are necessary generally to get somebody over the finish line? That's the question, right? That's the only counter I have to your argument there.
And when I said, hey Siri, my phone
Yeah, me
engaged.
too.
And
Yeah, yeah. My Siri also was like, "Yeah, I'll listen to what you guys are talking about right now."
so I'll just use Scotty. Hey Scotty,
Yeah,
send an offer to Scotty. Uh, yes, it's a valid point, but I think we'll get to a place where, maybe companies they have, because it's more cost effective and it's easier, the offer is what it is. I'm sorry, there's no negotiation. This is the best offer we're going to make. You
yeah,
know,
and we'll move on to the next person if you don't accept it, kind of
yeah.
thing.
Hey, we're making our best offer. We don't negotiate. I know you've been taught always to negotiate, but we don't negotiate. This offer is take it or leave it. We respect if you say leave it.
I mean, ace in the hole for me this whole time is we're dehumanizing this process entirely, and no person is going to want to work for that company. They'll be like, "Cool, good luck. Good luck with that. Good luck finding your next person. I'm
What
going to
if the
go blow
offer,
you up on the internet."
what if the offer is 20 grand more than they were asking?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, again, it's we're both put in a box here, and we're doing our best. But let's get through. Is that it? That's
I think
the
that's pretty much it. After that, it's onboarding and start. So, I mean, I think that can be automated, but if if there's something you wanted to argue in there, I'd like your idea of let's take our hats off and talk the other side because yeah, if you think we're at that
the
place.
only other thing, and again, just to kind of, to perhaps, I don't know, this is inside baseball, but it's all good. I think we could be transparent about it. Pre-offer, there is, as you and I refer to it internally here, there's a conversation that happens that we often refer to as like a lockdown conversation on somebody that's like, let's get them to where we know they're going to accept. Again, that is nuanced. It begins at the very start, right when you're screening, right when you engage for the first time, and it goes all the way up until you're about to get somebody to the offer stage. And in order to get them to accept, all it is a list of questions that you ask that you need the answers to. And it's often overlooked by many recruiters, let alone a machine, I would think. So that's another kind of nuanced piece that I'll just throw out there that AI is not going to be equipped for in my mind, but perhaps there's, they get that advanced. Now, to your point, I think what would make sense now is for us to, take stop arguing for our respective sides, because like you mentioned at the top of the call, we both see use cases for AI and for humans to stay in this process. And I do think that there's going to be a lot of integration, and the best possible experience for everyone will be a human that's, utilizing these tools in an effective and human way, right? Obviously, sometimes people are just not going to love having a conversation, even a text conversation with the robot. And I get that. I kind of feel that way too. But, you know, I think especially if you have the disclaimer that, hey, you're chatting with the bot right now and we'll connect you with a human, that there's a lot of ways that our jobs are going to, we're going to get even more valuable and be able to do more volume as recruiters using the tools. And I don't
I,
know how deep we want to go into that. We've already gone 35 minutes on this conversation, but yeah, I mean, I think we both agree, right?
yeah, I would just summarize my overall viewpoint on this by saying I really do not think AI will replace recruiters completely. Of course, I don't. However, I do think there are a lot of aspects of it that it will. It will make us more efficient and better recruiters. I think it will help us more efficiently open a position, write a job description, post a position, more efficiently screen, more efficiently source, probably better, more efficiently interview and send offers. It will not replace humans completely, but what I think people fail to realize as a recruiter, when I was an internal talent acquisition leader, one of the things we did at the last few companies I worked at is we said, okay, what are the key, most important traits for to be a great recruiter? And I think the most undervalued, maybe the most undervalued thing that people don't realize is that a great recruiter is a great project manager. There is a lot of herding of cats that goes on recruiting, getting people to show up to interviews, getting people not to cancel their interviews, trying to schedule interviews on calendars. If a robot just schedules an open time on a hiring manager's calendar, I guarantee that robot is going to get a lot of missed interviews because a human knows. I know that Scotty has that blocked off because it's typically when he does his lunch, or Scotty has that blocked off because he's typically at this place. You and I both know that managing a hiring team's calendar is a full-time job. So the project management of all of that, of bringing everyone together, getting the interview scheduled, making sure it goes off, gathering feedback, getting someone to fill out a scorecard, getting all that information in one place, getting the offer approval, going back and getting a second approval or a third approval. I think human involvement is really the best way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think recently we discussed where you kind of referenced the project management aspect of what a great recruiter does. And I absolutely agree. I would add though, that I think that another thing that a great human recruiter does is they are the bridge. They're an advocate for both the candidate as well as the company that they're working for, whether they're working as an employee of that company or, having been hired by that company. They'll evangelize what is good about the company, but not just that. What is good about the company that also is what the person they're speaking with cares about.
Yeah.
They're able to, what we do is we paint that picture, and again, I think the best of us will also recognize when it's not a good fit and make that recommendation to a candidate and to our hiring manager, right? Like there's so many aspects of this that um, I just I cannot see AI taking over. But to your point, from an efficiency perspective, as much as I get fired up to schedule an interview, actually the act of coordinating schedules and sending, I mean, that man, if a machine could do that just in and of itself would, I'll get just as fired up to say, AI, go schedule this for me. Right.
Totally.
And that'd be a huge time saver. So that's what the future looks like. I think we both agree. And perhaps I'll be more surprised with some of the things you brought up today in terms of other areas that the robots take over. But that was definitely a lengthy conversation. Jeff Platt, as always, pleasure.
And I will say finally, just to end, what I think you hit on a key point of what makes a great recruiter. One of the things I used to say with all of my teams, a great recruiter is a great storyteller. You got to tell a story of the company you're working for, you're recruiting for. You have to be able to tell that story and sell it passionately. I don't think a robot can do that.
Agreed. I mean, that will differentiate. That's what keeps us human the rest of our existence, as a species, as AI starts to take over more and more, is that exact thing in every aspect. I still like to read stories or listen to stories on a podcast or whatever it might be about other humans' experiences. You have a unique experience that a lot of the stories you tell, I get a great kick out of, as you well know. And I love telling stories as well. I agree. I think that's a great final point to make. So thanks again. Make sure you get your royalty checks from Monster for being their best advertiser. And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.